Hey, what's up everyone? Today in this video, I'm just gonna quickly talk about the amazing run I had over the weekend where I went to KL for the Battle Hardened and the ProQuest Plus. I managed to top 4 the BH and outright just win the ProQuest Plus the very next day to secure my qualification for Pro Tour Singapore, which I'm amazed. Now I have to really sort of think about what deck I want to bring for the Pro Tour. But yeah, so overall, I played 18 games in total over the weekend and I lost a total of 3 games. So I'm gonna put up my matchups on screen. And I'm also just gonna roughly talk about the different matchups and the list that I used, because this is it's not exactly my list. You know, 2 DOs actually took down their nationals, Ian Zhang in Netherlands as well as South Korea. Very similar list. So I just made a few tweaks. I'm gonna quickly go through the list because honestly it's just my thoughts on these publicly available lists. I don't want to spill any secrets that are not mine. And we can just straight away start with the equipment. This is the equipment suite that I brought for the weekend. Overall, nothing too special. In the games where you want to just smack face, I think like Gravy for example, I just bring in Goliath Gauntlet and Achilles Accelerator. And then other aggro mirrors, I bring in the adaptive plating as well as the Tinker Rings because that's just a fridge. Now I know some lists are also running Misfire Dampener and Balance of Justice. I think that's a personal preference. Balance of Justice sometimes, just doesn't always work. But I can see why it's good into Gravy as well as the mirror. And I think Misfire Dampener, if you're really expecting a lot of Kanos, then that might help. I don't know. Sometimes if they have it, just nothing stops them anyway. And then moving on to the main 71 cards, nothing too out of the blue. So I think the only change that I made from the Nationals winning list was to take out the Met X's and I put in T-Bones. Simply because I felt that the number of blues in the list was kind of low. So I wanted a more 0 cost over the 1 cost. And honestly, T-Bone helped win me a game against Syndra just by blowing up some of their equipment. Otherwise, it's essentially a maximum velocity list. There's 3 twin drives and then you have a bunch of 0 cost stuff. This was also when Azalea was legal, so there is a signal jammer in there that comes in against Azalea and Kano, I assume. And there are also 2 copies of Null Time Zone, which actually came in really handy against a couple of matches. TikTok Clock is in there as well. It's great in the mirror, it's pretty decent in Gravy. I even ran it into a Victor and blew up some of their gold. So yeah, once again, this is not exactly my list. I was honestly just testing it for the calling, which I was gonna play. But I'm gonna go through my matchups in the Battle Hardened first of all. So in my very first game, I faced against Azalea, and it was piloted by Funfei, a very well-known Singaporean Azalea player. And he's definitely one of my more cursed matchups, because I think the last time that I played him at a rated event, I was on Max, he was on Azalea. I turned 0, blew up like 3 of his equipment, and he still won the game. And back then Max, I think, still had high octane. So in this game, we sat down, we got deck checked, and he actually had a deck list error. He was issued IP2, I started first, and I still lost the game. I think I didn't see any items for the first 2 turns, and he was just blocking out almost everything I was sending. It wasn't much, it was like 3 go again, 3 go again, 4. So he blocked, and on the turn that I did set up, he sent like a pump and an arrow, and yeah, honestly I got fatigued out. He was playing tar pit traps, take covers, very defensive. So he was definitely more prepared for that matchup than I was. And yeah, I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna have fun for the rest of the BH. So my next round was against Slippy, which I think is a pretty cursed matchup as well. Slippy just has so much of disruption, as well as aggression, as well as getting cards out of your deck by kind of banishing them off the top, right? So it's pretty bad in many ways. I think the only reason I won this game is because my opponent just didn't find a Bonds the entire game, and I managed to pull off 2 maximum velocities. But yeah, it was really close. Round 3 was Lavaya. honestly nothing much to talk about. I just did Dio things and they couldn't really get going. There was no Blood Rush Bellow. Took down that one. Round 4 was Azalea, and this time was against Hilmi, another Singaporean. Very good Azalea player as well, but very different playstyle from Funpei. So he was trying to outrace me and we were just sending insane amounts of damage at each other. I just threw my fridge, and the turn that he kept a 4-card hand, I ended my turn after sending damage. I ended it by playing a Signal Jammer, which was super clutch because that meant that he could only play 1 pump. So he sent a Red in a Ledger for 8, which I blocked out. So that really gave me control of the game and I took it down from there. Round 5 was against Kano, one of my favorite matchups. And even though this list wasn't running Misfire Dampener, I still kind of high rolled. I had 3 items on turn 1, played a Cerebellum from hand, played something off the top, played Spark, and then on turn 2 I had like 2 more grenades come out. So yeah, that was a game. Round 6 was against a Syndra. Shout out to Sheng from Malaysia. This is not the last time I would face him. And I took this game down. It was a really close one. I just find Syndra matches to be very difficult if they can find Wrath of Retribution. But my plan is really just to race, send some heists, hopefully get a Max V and some boom grenades and just race them to the finish line. And the final Swiss round, round 7, was against Gravy Bones. It's like another Singaporean, Chu Heng. It was a good game. I think I just cleared allies when it was convenient, otherwise I was just sending damage to face. And sometimes their hands don't really block that well. So ended off the game with a Max V and yeah, qualified for the top 8. So this was the top 8 bracket of the BH, and I was facing down a Florian, which is traditionally one of my worst matchups. They just have a huge fridge, they can block super well. But this Florian, shout out to Ojus, another fellow Singaporean, is built slightly different. And of course this was open deck list, so I could see everything he was playing, and there was some item destruction in there, but also a lot more 2 blocks. And I believe there were no yellow root-bound carapaces. So not exactly a super tanky Florian. And for this matchup, I brought in Hanabi Blaster, I fat decked a bit, and yeah, I managed to pull off the win, set off a couple of boom grenades, and proceeded on to the top 4, where I paired into another Singaporean, Jason Chua, on Syndra. And this game was also super close. I think in the final turns I probably misblocked a bit, and I didn't realize some interactions with the dagger and his blood splattered vest. So he sent a couple of daggers, flicked it, and I just couldn't come back from there. So those were my 2 losses, a Syndra and an Azalea. And even though I didn't make the finals, it was still a crazy run. But I had to get my PTI. So the next day, instead of playing my favorite hero, I had to try hard. So I played Dash IO once again because it's a good deck. And I paired into Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. Fortunately for me, this opponent wasn't super familiar with the deck. I picked it up a couple weeks ago. So even though he's I think turn 1, I started first, and then when I passed back, he just went Bonds, Nick, cracked all the armor, took a card out of my hand, and then he proceeded to send CNC behind that. So that was a devastating start, but I managed to pull it out by playing a couple of Sparks, setting up Max Vs, and just going face. I think the games that you manage to play 2 Sparks, 3 Sparks, it just pulls you so far ahead. Second round was into a mirror, Dash IO, and I faced Sam Sutherland, the Dio man himself, and this time he too was on Dio. So thankfully I won the die roll. I think that's super important. And during the game, he kind of misblocked one turn where I followed up with a Pulse Wave Harpoon and took the last boost card from his hand. So his hand was just 2 items. From there I kind of took the tempo and yeah, took the game down. TikTok Clock is a good card. So my reward for that was to pair into a Victor the next round. This was round 3. And for this match, I brought in Hanabi Blaster. I fat decked a bit. The funny thing is, we got deck checked. And then when the decks came back, I realized that I had put the TikTok clock in. I forgot to take it out, right? I left it in a deck. But because we've been deck checked and we'd already presented decks, I couldn't take it out. So during the game, he played one of those block cards, like Test of Strength, and he was blocking a zipper hit. So 1 damage was leaking through. Test of Strength revealed the TikTok clock on top. Obviously, he won that clash. He made a gold, but then I just played out the TikTok clock. The 1 damage went through and just blew up his gold. So that was hilarious. And I got lucky once again. His trounce revealed a trounce followed by a pummel. So I think when Victor loses their clashes, they kind of lose the game as well. So yeah, took that game down. And I paired into Syndra once again. And this was actually a win and in because we were both undefeated. And going 4-0 in this ProQuest would guarantee a top 8 spot. So this Syndra was the same one from yesterday, the one that I beat. And did I mention that I beat him through T-bones? I blew up his chess piece. So in this game, he actually brought in a different chess piece. He brought in Flame Scale Furnace against me. And somehow, he fatigued me out. I was just doing my thing, right? I was just pressing hard, trying to find items off the top, sending damage, sending max Vs, boom grenades. And he was like, alright, shelter, loyalty from the grave, and just blocking out my boom grenades, preserving life, and still sending back like, 0 for 4, and just chipping away at my life total. So in the end, I just ran out of gas, which was incredible to me, and that's how I lost. Round 5 was against Puffin. This was Aiden. You might have seen him on stream. He was playing the white bordered Puffin, and he actually sent 2 Palantirs at me, both times with the triple cock activation. Blew up my arms, blew up my crown, I think. But throughout the game, I just sent more damage than him. I could set up, more items with getting more value from my items as well. So it was basically a race, and I think Dio does well in those races. So I took it down, and my final round of the ProQuest Swiss round was against a Vin set. This game was actually on stream, so I'm gonna link the stream down below. You can go watch it for yourself, as well as the top 8. Because I was there for round 6 and the semi-finals and the finals. So 3 of my games are on stream. And yeah, I played Null Time Zone, yes, into this Vincent list. And I named a Malefic Incantation. And that turn he had 2 of them. So on his turn he banished 1, and then he blocked with another one. And then when that Null Time Zone ran out, I played another Null Time Zone, naming the same thing. So basically the whole game he never had Malefic Incantations. And yeah, he tried to race me. You just can't really do that, I think, even with the disruption they have. So I just once again max V it for the win. So on to the quarterfinals. Syndra once again, and once again the same Syndra. This was the 3rd time facing Sheng from Malaysia. And once again, he did the Flame Scale Furnace thing. And he was counting my deck, checking the number of cards. But, I mean, I was a bit more prepared. When he blocked out, I just kind of set up a bigger turn for the next turn. So I managed to get that game and move on to the semi-finals. The semi-finals was against Gravy. Sorry, let me put the top 8 bracket up so that you can see how stacked this ProQuest Plus was. We have Chu Heng up there, we have Gordon, we have Michael Feng, we have Sam Sutherland. And of course, having 3 Slippies in the top 8, definitely a matchup I want to avoid. But thankfully, top 4, Sam Sutherland took out one of the Slippies, Chu Heng took out another Slippy. And so my semi-finals was against Michael Feng on Gravy Bones. This was a super close game. He had chums. He went to find a chum. He played 2 chums that game. I had to crack my shoes just to kill it. And in the end, on the pivotal turn that he had to strip a card from my hand, I think the Murderous Rebel he played revealed a yellow on top instead of a blue. So that came in for 2 instead of 3. And yeah, in the end I was down to 1 life. So I think that 1 point of damage mattered, and throughout the game he only sent 1 Conqueror, which I blocked out. But yeah, really close game. I just took a whole bunch of damage to send back as much damage as I could while clearing allies. It's a pretty tough matchup, I think, if the Gravy knows what they're doing. Definitely quite lucky in that game. But if you want to talk about luck, let's talk about the Dio mirror in the finals where Sam Sutherland made it. I honestly just high rolled this game. I started first. I set up 2 items on my first turn. I sent 9 damage with an active heist, and I had an arsenal. So I took his whole hand. He was kind of lucky that he had like 4 non-items, and he also threw his arm piece to block out there. So it was a pretty crazy turn 0 for me. And then after that, I just had a couple more crazy turns. There was a spark turn that I sent a 0 to 60 blue, boosting, and then he didn't block. I played a tick-tock clock off the top, blew up his cerebellum, and I think I must have dealt like 20 damage of a 3-card hand. So yeah, crazy game, but he was a really good sport, and it was a really fun game as well for me. And yeah, that was my overall record. I lost to 2 Syndras overall and 1 Azalea. So I think, I don't know, Syndra, sometimes maybe I'm just not blocking right. I'm still trying to figure out the list, trying to tune it slightly, even though I might not play it for Pro Tour. I definitely think Dio is quite well positioned in this meta. Not like Slippy is by far, I think, the most difficult matchup, and it might be one of the more represented decks. But into the rest of the field, I do think that it is somewhat better. You know, now that Florian's not really around, Nu is gone, Azalea is gone. So Dio kind of does a bit better. Of course, you still definitely need to know how to make the right decisions at the right time. Sometimes you don't want to boost, you know, sometimes you want to press the heart a bit more, sometimes you want to set up a Tackle Pounder. And knowing what your Spark of Genius targets are is very important. In different matchups and at different times of the games, there are different options, and you always have to be aware of what you have left in the deck. I mean, I've been playing this deck for almost a year now, I think. Like just before the Armory deck came out, I picked it up, and after, you know, High Octane was a great time, but then it got banned. So it got difficult after that with, you know, the different bad matchups, but now that they're gone, it's definitely a bit better, and there are multiple ways to build the deck as well. Sam's list was really different, but I do think if you are familiar with the deck and the different matchups, it is quite possibly the best aggro deck right now. But yeah, finally, I just want to shout out my amazing group of friends. We all went to KL together. This is a very glamorous photo I took of them. Going with friends, playing with friends, it just helps so much, because when you're down, they pull you up. You have someone to talk to during the tournament, and you just pray and hope that you don't pair into them until the finals. But yeah, I have talked way too much. I've let go of too many secrets, and I will definitely have to think about perhaps maybe playing something else for the Pro Tour. Alright, go foil from ProQuest Plus. Come on, Achilles or bust. Let's go.
It should be face down, yeah.
Snapdragon.
Snap, oh yeah, Snapdragon.
Snap is money, man. Snap is money.
Gauntlet. You also asked.
Oh yeah, Gauntlet. It is 0 Ninja.
Oh!
Wow, nice.
How do you feel about it?
Sure. I used to run it in Zen for AB.
Bro, Zen gone already.
Yeah, bye.